Morning, everyone. So I guess we will start now, and more people might join us throughout the presentation. My name is Florence Rouaux. French speaker, as you can hear. I'm a strategist at Addendums Consultants and the head strategist of Cluster 6, today's focus. Before we go into the details, I'll give you a brief introduction to Addendums. Addendums specializes in EU research and innovation funding. The company was established in 1999 and since then has had vast experience and gained expertise in obtaining governmental funding for innovative technology and research and development. We have 30 employees divided into 3 departments: the strategy, my department, the business development department, and an amazing consulting and writing team. Our vision is to target innovative funding opportunities and to enhance participation and success in multinational research and innovation projects. Now we're going to focus on Addendums Proposition. We know that the abundance of funding opportunities out there can become very challenging to navigate because of the complexity that is part of the submission process, in addition to the many details and guidelines that every funding opportunity entails. We have developed a unique method to increase our clients' access to funding while minimizing their efforts. We call this our multi-submission strategy approach, that we shorten as MSS, which means that we target multiple calls, multiple funding sources to optimize our chances to be funded and to create a rational strategy of non-dilutive funding for the applicant. These grants and tenders can be considered as a source of revenue. They are usually competitive and demanding in terms of eligibility criteria, specific requirements, and so on. We become your partners to elaborate a project that is grantable in line with the development you have on your roadmap and in the scope of the calls we are targeting. Together with your project manager from Addendums, the actual consultant will help you in writing the proposal. We will conceptualize and support proposal preparation until the final submission. Thanks to our methodology and professional experience, we aim at increasing your success rate. You will benefit from our expertise, our workforce, and we will work with your technology and tailor it to fit multiple proposal calls. Now, I want to talk a bit about the process of project support. So this slide offers an overview of your proposal preparation process. First, we conceptualize your project and match it to the call. If the application requires a partnership in the European grant ecosystem, we call it a consortium. That can be a small consortium of 2 partners up to 20, 30 partners for large consortium calls in Horizon Europe, for example. Then we will use our network and platforms to connect you with relevant partners and build a collaborative project. Then, together with the applicants, we will support the proposal preparation and building up a timeline, ensuring to meet all deadlines. The funding opportunity selection criteria. The first stage of funding is choosing the call proposal. When a company chooses a grant for submission, they should consider the following criteria. The field, if it's a bottom-up call, then it's open to all fields and technology, whereas top-down would be a specific call that's aligned with the EU's agenda, meaning open a bottom-up call, you can choose the project you want to advance. Top-down, you need to fit in a specific call, sector and area and technology requirements. They should also consider the type of funding mechanism. The European one, supported by the EU, like Horizon Europe, or the bilateral, for example, a technological collaboration between two countries or a national funding initiative. They should also consider the type of application procedure, whether the submission is a single applicant or as part of a collaborative project. Remember, we call it a consortium. The choice should be made according to the company's need and strategy, and while considering the success rate of each opportunity. Now, please allow me to present you our team of the strategic department. At Argentum, we have aligned our services to the Horizon Europe thematic division of clusters in order to provide the most adapted and professional services as it comes to European funding. As we are constantly expanding our knowledge and funding sources, we are dividing our teams in Cluster 4, the digital industry and space, with my colleague Leah, Cluster 5 for climate, energy and mobility with my colleague Ben, Cluster 1 for health-related project with my colleague Carlene, and the overall bottom-up funding opportunities that are actually covering all thematics with mostly our head of the strategy department, Odelia. Finally, Cluster 6 for food, bioeconomy, and natural resources, that will be our focus today, is under my responsibility. Now that you have received the basic introduction about our approach and the adapted lexicon, we can drill down to the list of funding opportunities I prepared for this webinar, while focusing on applicants active in the field of agri-food tech, bioeconomy, and natural resources. Let's dig in. So if you're Cluster 6, what can you apply for? As you can see, we have bottom-up calls, which are general non-thematic calls open to every kind of project. The Eureka program, the EIT programs, the Horizon Europe program, the EU missions and life programs, Primamet, and surprising, ESA. We will talk about it more very soon. Okay, basic bottom-up funding opportunities that are offered by the EIC Innovation Council, the European Innovation Council. You have the two famous bottom-up calls, the EIC Accelerator, that offers 2.5 million euros and a possibility of up to 15 million equity component. This is focusing on a single applicant and targets a breakthrough innovation from technological readiness level for 5 up to 9. And it's, of course, market-oriented. The business sector and approach of your company is very important here. The other bottom-up call that we have under the EIC is the EIC Pathfinder. It can get you funding of up to 4 million euros, depending on the deadline of the year. This requires a small partnership, preferably including a research participant, because it's a Pathfinder and is based on research and focuses on very, very low TRL from 1 to 4. And targets a very breakthrough technological project, and of course, research-oriented. Now we're going to move on to the Eureka program, which is a bottom-up. First of all, we can focus on their bottom-up direction and also their sector-oriented calls. I will soon explain what it means. The scope offers the scope of Eureka. It offers usually a bridge between industry leaders and SMEs. University and research institutes can of course participate depending on the countries and on the requirement of research results into the pre-commercial projects. We will, as long as we're talking about eligibility and budget, It's very important to note that it depends on the NCP, the national point of contact. Every country, because it's a bilateral call, it doesn't come from EU funding, but from every European country who is participating. So on a specific point of view, this is a national funding that are combined into a bilateral or inter-European project. So that means that every partner gets funded by its own country. And of course, it's SMEs oriented. We will dig a bit more into the different calls that are available under the Eureka program. So this requires a bilateral R&D collaboration between at least 2 SMEs from 2 different Eureka countries. You have for the Eurostars, which is a bottom-up. That means that you can choose the project you want to advance. You have 2 yearly deadlines, usually in March and in September. And besides the Eurostars, the bottom-up, you also have the clusters of Eureka. You have the Celtic Next that focuses on next generation communication, Eurogia that focuses on low carbon energy, Smart that focuses on manufacturing and production, ITIA for software innovation, and XX, electronic components and system. Now, this cluster, although they are sector-oriented, might still be relevant for cluster 6 because you either need a telecommunication or manufacturing focus or a software component or electric components into your agri-tech or agri-food tech technology. And that means that for that, it could be relevant for you. So that's why I mentioned them. More specifically for our cluster 6, the Eurogia call is a bit more relevant because it focuses a bit more on agriculture and environment and climate. So let's move on to the next one. EIT, the sector-oriented calls. Now, the EIT is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. It is an independent body of the European Union set up in 2008 to deliver innovation across Europe. The EIT seeks to power innovators and entrepreneurs across Europe to turn their best ideas into products, services, jobs, and growth. It brings together leading business, education, and research organizations to form dynamic cross-border partnerships. These are called knowledge and innovation communities that we call KICs, and each is dedicated to funding solutions to a specific global challenge. As you can see, there are 8 KICs at the moment, and there might be more in the future. You have the digital KICs, the urban mobility, manufacturing, health, energy, and the KICs that interest us more specifically today, EIT food, climate, and raw materials. Through their business plan, the KICs develop innovative products and services, start new companies, and train a new generation of entrepreneurs. They also propose diverse calls throughout the years, some to accelerate your company, others offer some very interesting grants. This EIT program works a bit like a private club that any entry into could be very valuable, funding, investors, and networking-wise. They offer very, very diverse calls. Sometimes it's just to boost your networking and to give you some specific technological boost. Which, however, even though the funding is very low or is considered like a prize, a small prize that could be up to 10K, it's still very valuable because from the moment you have one foot into the EIT, they keep you in mind, and they might search you for specific further calls that offer much wider funding opportunities money-wise. Now we will move into our next slide, where I focus a bit more on one specific call from EIT, that is from the EIT food community, and it's the Open Innovation Call 2000 and 2023. Now, EIT Food focuses on 3 missions: healthier lives through food, a net zero food system, a fully transparent, fair, and resilient food system. These are the 3 general missions, and they focus also on 6 areas: protein diversification, sustainable aquaculture and agriculture, targeted nutrition, digital traceability, and circular food system. So I'm sure you can recognize yourself in one of the focus area or the missions. Now, this specific calls has been changed lately. It used to be a 2-stage submission, and they changed it into a 1-stage submission with 2 different deadlines. One that passed in November, and the next one will be for April 13th. It requires a consortium of at least 3 different entities from 2 different EU countries and associated. And I don't know if there are some Swiss SMEs among us, but just so you know that this is subsidized by SERI. So although you might not be eligible per se by EIT Food, you get funded by SERI, which is also an additional added value for the consortium you might join, since your part of the budget would be outside of the proposed budget. So the funding is between 600k euro and 1.2 million euro for either a 12 or 24 months project. And for any Swiss partner joining such a project, that would not include his part of the budget and would make it higher than the whole project's total budget would be higher than 1.2 or 600k. This offers a 70% funding rate, which means that the partners have to match 30%. And it includes also a financial return mechanism, some part of the money that you have to reinvest into EIT. So this EIT food oriented, we will also here in Argentum talk further along the year and launch an event in order to set a brokerage event and to advance some of the projects of our clients. So keep that in mind for January. We will, of course, update you later. Okay, this was for EIT Food and EIT direction. Now we will move on to the Horizon Europe, which is a large program with many calls. Now, we're talking about the agri-food objectives of cluster 6. And for that, I need to present first on the left column here, the EU Green Deal topics, which are the main topics of focus for the European Union. You need to protect nature from 4 to 4 programs, striving for greener industry, eliminating pollution, climate pact and law, ensuring a just transition for all, and leading the green change globally. Now, this matches the 7 direction of Cluster 6 from Horizon Europe. The first direction is biodiversity and ecosystem services. The second direction, farm to fork for fair, healthy, and environment-friendly food systems from production to consumption. Direction 3, for circular economy and bioeconomy. Direction 4, zero pollution and clean environment. Direction 5, land, ocean, and water for climate action. Direction 6, resilient, inclusive, healthy, and green rural, coastal, and urban communities. Direction 7, innovative governments, environmental observation, and digital solution in support of the Green Deal. Here we go back to the Green Deal again. So these are the 7 directions of cluster 6. We will, of course, dig a bit deeper now, and I will present you 4 calls for 4 different directions. It's based on the draft provided by Horizon Europe that should be published any minutes now. The first call that I chose is for Direction 2, Farm to Fork program. And it focuses on innovations in plant protection, alternatives to reduce the use of pesticides, focusing on candidates for substitution. There's a very great will now in the European Union to get rid of pesticides or nocive pesticides and change them into something more respectful of nature and of the health of the consumers. For this program, the Horizon Europe program offers a 6 million budget per project, and they intend to fund 2 projects. It's an innovation action direction, so that means that it's funded at 70%, about 70% funding rate. And the deadline for that call is the 12th of April, 2023. Second call I would like to present to you is the circular economy and bioeconomy direction. And the call itself is land-based bioprospective and production of bioactive compounds and functional materials for multiple bio-based value chain. Bio-based here is the keyword. For that project, it offers a budget of 4 million, and 1 project is going to be funded. It's an RIA, Research and Innovation Action call, which means that research institution has to be part of the partnership and of the consortium. We're talking here of about large consortium, minimum 10 up to, it can be 20 very easily. For this call, the deadline is the 28th of March, 2023. So if you're interested in that call, it's time to get ready to it. 2 more calls for Cluster 6 Horizon Europe program. The third one is Direction 4, Zero Pollution and Clean Environment Direction. Strategies to prevent and reduce plastic packaging pollution from the food system. Very important. There are several calls that include the same topics, but this is definitely something for you if you have an alternative packaging solution that avoids pollution. The budget is 4 million per project, and 2 projects will be funded under this call. It's a research and innovation action call, which means that you have to have some research institution within the consortium that you plan on building or joining. And the deadline here also 28th of March 2023. Last one for Horizon Europe, it's Direction 7, Innovative Governments, Environmental Observation and Digital Solution in support of the Green Deal. And of course here the key partners will be the digital partners who have an impact on Cluster 6 other directions. And the call that I chose is Advancing Analytical Capacity and Tools to Support EU Agri-Food Policies post-2027. So Europe is going digital, and they want to see that into every cluster, including in the agri-food tech sector. For this project, you have 6 million per project, and they don't intend to fund 6 projects. This is a mistake. if I remember correctly, one project would be funded under that call. This is a research and innovation action, which means that you have to include research institution into the consortium. And the deadline is for the 23rd of March, 2023. Okay, some sisters of the Horizon Europe goals now are the missions. Part of Horizon Europe's work program also counts 2 sub-programs providing EU funding for Cluster 6 protagonists like you, the missions and the LIFE program. We will start with the EU missions program that include topics in the following sectors: cancer for Cluster 1, smart and climate neutral cities for Cluster 5 and a bit of 4, adaptation to climate change, oceans and water restoration, and finally the soil deal for Europe. All these three can lead us to Cluster 6 technologies. On this slide, you can find examples of 3 single-stage calls for our 3 relevant EU missions program for 2023 and 2024. The first one focusing on oceans and water. The call that I chose is European Natural Lakes Demonstration of Integrated Approaches for Protection and Restoration of Natural Lake Ecosystems and their Biodiversity. A very important focus in the upcoming years. It offers a 4 million euro per project, and 3 projects are supposed to be funded. This is an innovation action call, which means that it offers you about 70% of funding for each partners. Besides the research institution who are funded about 100%. Deadline is for September, the 20th of September 2003, so we have time for that. The next call that I want to present to you is the Adaptation to Climate Change mission, and it's testing and demonstrating transformative solution, increasing climate resilience of the agriculture and forestry sector. It offers between 8 and 10 million euro per project, and 3 projects are supposed to be funded. This is also an innovation action call that grants you 70% funding. And the deadline will be on the 20th of September also. The last call is part of the Soil Deal for Europe mission. And the call that I chose is on-site digital technologies to monitor nutrition and chemical or biological stressor in soil and plants with relevance for food safety and nutrition. Here, 6 million per project will be granted and 2 projects should be funded. Also innovation action, and also a deadline in September. So we have time to think of the best project to apply with. This requires a large consortium, a minimum of 10 partners, but more likely 15, about 15 and more. And yeah, if you're interested in that, we have definitely time to think of a concept for it. Now, the next program is the LIFE program. Here, I need to tell you that they haven't yet published the work program for 2023 and 2024. So I based my examples on the previous deadline that was in September. So you have the LIFE Environment and LIFE Nature call. That focuses on for the first one on circular economy and quality of life. It offers a 1.3 million per project, 1 project to be funded, and we expect a deadline for a similar call in September. And as for nature and biodiversity, the second call that appears here, it's also it's 1 million budget per project, and 2 projects are supposed to be funded. Also expected a deadline in September 2023. You see that the budget is much lower here, meaning that the consortium that you will build will be smaller as well. Okay. Now let's move on to our next program, which is one very important, the Primamet 2023. It's very, very, very hot in cluster 6 sector. And as its title stipulates it focuses on the Mediterranean area and countries. But not only, as you can see, we have also Croatia, Germany, Luxembourg, and Slovenia, who are also eligible, although they do not have any borders with the Mediterranean Sea. For those who are not part of this country or a Mediterranean country, I'm sorry, this might not be relevant. But as you see, we also have a lot of Mediterranean non-European countries like Algeria, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Tunisia, and Turkey. So these funding offer several directions, but we're going to focus here on the first direction, whose funding is from the European Union. It requires a small consortium of 3 entities from 3 different countries, but most of the winning projects present a larger consortium of about 10 partners. The funding is either of 2.75 million euro or 4.1 million euros. That has to be divided among the partners taking part of the project. And the funding of each partner, of course, depends on their role and the expertise they bring to the project. Now, I want to present you the 4 thematics for this year. So it's a 2-stage submission, meaning that you have a first an outline proposal to submit by February. This might not be final because they haven't officially published the deadlines yet. So first proposal, an outline proposal of about 10 pages for February, and the large proposal, if you were selected for it, with a deadline in the beginning of July, and it's about 50 pages, much more serious proposal. As I said, these dates are not officially published, so it might be later. Primamet focuses on 4 different thematics. It's water management, farming system, agri-food value chain, and welfare nexus. The water management and the agri-food value chain areas seek to promote research and innovation actions. So you have to have a research component within your project, and then offers about a 100% funding rate for all the partners. Whereas the farming system and welfare nexus areas offer a larger funding amount of 4.1 million, but since it's an innovation action, it focuses more on industrial partner, and there you will have a matching of 30%, as the Primamet offers about 70% funding rate. We should, however, note that winning proposal from Primamet all have research institution and or universities among the partners. So keep that in mind if you seek to apply to that consortium. One of the thematic areas here, you will have to include some academic or research institution as an added value. The first thematic, water management, this year will focus on prevention and reduction of nutrient pollution in Mediterranean inland and coastal waters. The second thematic, the farming system, will focus on ramping actions to restore and return degraded lands in the Mediterranean region into productive agro-ecosystems. The third thematic, which concerns the agri-food value chain, focuses on increasing agri-food supply chain, cereal, for example, resilience into the Mediterranean region. And the last thematic, the Wi-Fi Nexus, which combines also a digital component to the three above mentioned thematic, is accelerate adaptation and mitigation to climate change in the Mediterranean by deploying Wi-Fi Nexus solutions. So these are the four different calls of the first direction for Primamet for this year. As you see, this is kind of sector-oriented. What we call sector-oriented is not like a Horizon Europe top-down call. You still have quite a lot of freedom while choosing the project you want to advance, but you need to keep it into the specific sector that was given. Okay, so that's it for Primamet. And now last but not least, I would like to introduce you to out-of-the-box funding direction, the European Space Agency and its business applications. You might ask me what the connection between Cluster 6 and space is, and you would be right, but ESA surprisingly is highly interested in many sectors included in Cluster 6, such as agri-food tech, natural resources, and water treatment, etc. They are ready to fund any project who could either promote and advance the space assets and technologies, or, and this is a very important small word, it also is very interested in funding projects that space assets are used or are implemented within the project in order to boost the applicant's business. So if you have any project that could use space telecommunication or geolocalization, geonavigation, or any other space asset, this could be actually funded by ESA. As you can see, they offer a bottom-up track, which is the direct negotiation. It's a 3-stage submission. It's quite long, but the funding is high also. It's between $500,000 and $2 million. And besides this bottom-up track, they offer also specific tenders. Here I put 3 examples, but there are more, including in the health sector, sports center, and so on. But for our relevant focus today, you can have the sustainable digitally connected solutions for the commodity crisis, including a lot of the food value chain and the agri-tech sector. You also have the second call in orange, finance for green transition. Here focusing a lot about circular economy. And the last one, digitizing water resilience, acting on water stress in basins. These are 3 examples of typically top-down calls proposed by ESA. The funding, it's usually for single applicants, so no consortium required, although you could apply with a partner that is very critical to the advancement of the project you want to propose. And it's about 200K euro funding. And this is a 1-stage application. The way the ESA space solutions and business application work is very interesting to me. It's very different than the EIC, who in my eyes can be sometimes very cruel because it requires a long proposal that requires a lot of efforts. And most of the time, the success rate is very low. ESA has a different approach. They are requiring from any applicant to be in touch with the ESA relevant respective NCP. So if you're French, for example, and you want to apply to ESA, you will have to be in contact with the European Space Agency in France. There you will have to submit a file with your request, something very general, and then you will have to present your project in front of them. if they're interested, they will allow you to move forward. And moving forward, whether it's a 3-stage submission or 1-stage submission, it always goes very seriously. You submit them a draft, they give you feedback, then you improve your proposal and you submit it again until the proposal is perfect in the eyes of the evaluators, and then you get funded. So this is a very different approach that I think is very interesting. And because cluster 6 relies a lot now on telecommunication or geolocalization and navigation, it could be super relevant for you. So I think we came to an end of this webinar with a short overview, presenting a short overview of cluster 6 and all the different calls. I hope this was interesting to you and that it helped you to get inspiration for your next funding applications. Later on, our marketing team will, of course, send you a follow-up email, and you are welcome to book a call via the link that will be in the email. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you very much for your time today. Have a good day. Bye-bye.